Hey, Mason here. Just thought I would do an update on what I've been doing. So, originally I was going to play that Juggernaut, the trauma stacking jug, but it felt kind of bad having to ramp to do damage. So I decided to get back on my Inquisitor, so that was doing Sanctum, and take this character out of Sanctum and into maps. So, for context, I've swapped over to Ivory Tower, and the reason why is because I didn't want to skip the step of Ivory Tower and go straight to a pure ES, like a tier 1, full tier 1 prefixed EX chest. I felt like I would learn something from going through Ivory Tower and then transitioning off Ivory Tower into CI and going like pure ES chest. Something like what Connor Converse is doing, or what Captain Lance has in his POB for Energy Blade. So that's what I decided on. I decided to go with Ivory Tower. My current setup is a very standard Ivory Tower strength int stacks setup. So I've got Ivory Tower here. I've got Wrath Pith, the shield. I've got Shaper's Touch. I've got an Eye of the Great Wolf. I've got a Crown of the Inward Eye and a Helical Ring. And I'm using Energy Blade with my Abyss Socket. And my boots are just some standard crafted strength int life. It's just a strength into life and movement speed, like crafted movement speed boots. I also have a Calandra's Touch and I have a Mage Blood. So the first thing to talk about is the issues that come with Ivory Tower. So the main issue is the line that says chaos damage is taken from mana before life. Because most Ivory Tower setups play blood magic, I decided I'll try blood magic first. And that means you have no mana, which means that if you're reserving all your life, which you have to in order to get the most benefit from Ivory Tower, you see that my life is entirely all reserved. I have 177 life. That means that this mod doesn't really work, and chaos damage will go through the energy shield and just instantly kill the character. So the main way to get around this is Coruscating Elixir. So I've got a skin on my Coruscating Elixir. So I'll just take that off. But a pink flask, basically, this pink flask. This flask says, chaos damage taken does not bypass energy shield during effect. Removes all but one life on use. So this flask basically means that this downside doesn't affect you. It makes the chaos damage go straight to your energy shield. And this kind of is the core mechanic that makes Ivory Tower actually work with blood magic. Otherwise you have to play Ivory Tower with a mana bar, like what mana stackers do. So in terms of Coruscating Elixir, that's like kind of the main key issue that you need to solve with this build. How do you maintain good uptime on Coruscating Elixir? Because as soon as Coruscating Elixir drops off, your character will die. The main ways I've been doing this is most Inquisitors use Traitor, this keystone right here. Traitor makes it so that you gain 4 charges per empty flask slot every 5 seconds. And I have 1 empty flask slot. This allows me to gain some charges, but it actually is not enough to sustain the flask by itself. With a Traitor though, you can search using the, what's that thing called again? Using POB, the Timeless Jewel Search, and there is a mod that says increased flask charges gained. So if there's a good spot on the tree, you can use that in combination with multiple notables with increased flask charges, and it can give you very good sustain. So currently, I don't really have any good options to place this jewel because it changes the keystone, right? And we can take a look at all the jewel sockets on the tree right now. So this one over here was one I looked at, but it actually changes this keystone here instead of this keystone here for some reason. And it also, you can't really use it because Runebinder is mandatory because I'm still playing Penance brand. The next option is here, but over here there's no keystone to change. Like this one here is too far, and there's actually no keystone in this ring here. So you can't even put it here. And that's it. There's no jewel sockets down here that are like conveniently located. There's one here for 3, but it's pretty far. And I don't think you can actually put the timeless jewels into these sockets right here. We can test it quickly. But I'm very confident that you can't because I remember trying this a bit earlier. Oh, you can. Okay. But oh, actually, look, it's the same thing because you only have 1 notable here. So it's the same thing as placing it up here and you have 1 notable here. So it doesn't really actually make a difference. But cool, that's good to know. I actually did not know you could put them there. I thought you couldn't. Also, it costs 3 skill points to get to that, while this costs 2 skill points. So in the end, this is still better. Okay. I'll reallocate my tree. So that's something that you can do with the traitor and the timeless jewel here. But the idea is that you need an empty flask socket. So I have like an empty flask right here. And this only gives me enough sustain for maps. When I do bosses, I like to take out my J Flask because I want to do more damage. So I keep my Silver Flask in. So I take out my J Flask and that helps. This is 100% uptime, I think. It's basically close to 100%. I think it's like 100%. And then if you get really bad rolls, like very, very unlucky, it's like 80% uptime. But the reason why that's not an issue is because of this Watcher's Eye mod that I've been using. So this one here. Gain a flask charge when you deal a crit while under the effects of precision, while affected by precision. This one allows you to, I think the internal cooldown for this is 0.1 seconds, which means that if you're hitting 10 times a second, you would get 10 flask charges. Like you get a flask charge every 0.1 second, which results in 10 flask charges per second. Coruscating Elixir uses 20 flask charges. So basically you can more or less self-sustain Coruscating Elixir with just a precision mod. I personally like to have it a little bit safer, so I'm still running the traitor, but you can actually just take this out. I'm pretty sure you'll be fine, because most of the time you're still hitting the mobs anyways. So that's kind of how you sustain your flask charges. It's probably the key piece of information that you need to know in order to have this build function properly, especially with Coruscating Elixir uptime. Otherwise, you'll just randomly die due to chaos damage. So that's the combination. The combination is the flask charge when you deal a crit while affected by precision, in combination with traitor. With this one is like optional, but it helps. The increased flask charge gain and an empty flask socket. And then on bosses, you just drop your second flask like this, and then you just do the boss with 3 flasks. So this is why I can run Mageblood. You are actually better off running a Cyclopean Coil, I think it's called, or a crafted. Let me just have a look. Yeah, this one right here. So you are better off running this particular one here because it gives you 13% attributes. So if you can't afford a Mageblood, just run this. It's actually more damage and more tankiness because of the attributes here. And eventually you can also craft your own Stygian Vise with increased attributes as well on it if you want. But personally, I just like having Mageblood, and so that's what I'm using. And I also farmed Mageblood in Sanctum, right? So the idea is that you go in Sanctum with this character and you swap this out once you have your Mageblood. So I'm just going to play the build with having a Mageblood in mind. Okay, so the next thing to talk a little bit about is the damaging skill. So I decided to still use Penance brand, just because I like to play brands. And Penance brand is linked with Spellblade, Conk Effect, Increased Damage, Crit Damage, SWIFTBRAND, and Arcane Surge. So first I want to just to talk about is just Penance brand by itself. This skill actually sucks in terms of clear. It has probably the worst clear in the game for any skill, simply because it has no way of projecting damage past one individual mob. So what I'm actually doing is I'm not even using this skill for clear. I'm actually using Frostblink. So Frostblink of Wintery Blast, when you press, it has like the little circle around it, and that circle does a lot of damage because you're scaling universal damage through Energy Blade and Spellblade and Battle Mage, which is this node right here. This one right here gains added spell damage equal to your main hand weapon. So with those combinations, I used Frostblink for my clear because it actually does a ton of damage. So you can see here, it says 1.7 million, and Penance brand is less damage than Frostblink. Like, so obviously the tooltip is wrong, but I'm just showing you that it does a ton of damage. The reason why is because we have it linked with Spellblade support right here. So Spellblade support makes it so that the skill has added spell damage equal to the damage of the one-handed melee weapon, which is my Energy Blade. And then we linked it with Spell Echo for faster cast speed, more cast speed, and the increased area of effect so that it feels nicer to use. The increased area of effect is just for clear. My server is absolutely dying. You can see the ping is like spiking, so the servers right now are just like actually cooked. But the idea is that, can I still like show my gear? Okay, the idea is that with Spellblade in my Frostblink, it does enough damage and combination with Battle Mage. Okay, servers crashed. All right, let's hop into Singapore. All right, on Singapore server now, so hopefully it's a bit more stable. But yeah, so the idea is that your Frostblink. Oh, it's like cooking. Yeah, you see my Frostblink, when I blink around, it has an AoE around me that does enough damage to clear mobs. And I'm using that for my clear, and I'm using the brand itself for rares or tankier targets. So that's why Just make sure your Frostblink's linked with Spellblade, otherwise it'll do like basically way less damage. If I take it out, you can see that it does like 800k. Put it in, it's like more than double damage. So yeah, that's the idea. You're scaling universal damage because of Energy Blade, Battle Mage, and Spellblade support. And so it allows you to have the utility of having a mobility skill do a ton of damage for clear. Okay, the next link I'll talk about is just Grace and Eternal Blessing. Because my gloves here have +2 socketed duration gems, I just put Grace in, and it has to be Val Grace because Val Grace has a duration tag, so it gets the extra 2 levels. If you put in normal Grace, you won't get the extra 2 levels here. This is a defensive aura. If you're still doing Sanctum with this setup, you could just put in Haste. So if you wanted to do Sanctum, you'd hot swap Haste in here, and you'd hot swap a Quicksilver in here. So in this case, the Quicksilver I have is this one here. Movement speed, Quicksilver. It would just make Sanctum a lot nicer to do. And this one you just put in Haste. So I have like a whole old Haste gem somewhere there right here. I'll just pump that in. The next two here is Steel Skin and Automation. Steel Skin allows you to gain immunity to bleeding, and there's not very many good ways to gain immunity to bleed. And so I think this is the best way to solve bleed. And you can use like other guard skills, but they have very bad uptime, like 30%. So there's not really any point. Like you can have a model core up 30% of the time. It gives you double EHP, but I think I'd rather the bleed immune than the 30% chance to not die. So yeah. The next thing is Vitality and Precision and the Abyss Jewel. So Abyss Jewel you just want for look for damage. Vitality you want, it's optional, but the reason why you're using this is because of the way reservations work in this particular setup. So if I take these without, you can see that I have like some life unreserved, 400 life unreserved, and you see my energy shield is like 9,983. These are used to kind of correct your reservation to make sure you reserve as much stats as possible, sorry, as much life as possible, to ensure that your energy blade, so your Ivory Tower, is getting the maximum efficiency. So you can see that I went up to 1,194 with a 21 vitality. That's not high enough, right? So I would like to reserve even more. And the way I'm doing that is I'm using a precision. And by reserving precision, that pushes me up. Just note that precision is a mandatory aura to have because of the Watcher's Eye mod. If you do not have precision, the Watcher's Eye mod will not give you flask charges. And so there's an issue with that. You want to make sure that your precision has Watcher's Eye. So you want to make sure that you have a precision on you so your Watcher's Eye can give you flask charges when you crit. That's kind of the idea behind that. Okay, so now that I've talked a bit about the offensives, the defensive is primarily one type of defense, it's just evasion. So over here, you can see that I have 50,000 evasion rating and I have 85% chance to evade. The way we're getting that is 1, you have Grace, right? Grace Aura. 2, you have Jade Flask with the Mage Blood effect, which gives you a ton of evasion. If I take this off, it goes to 69%. And 3 is that you have some nodes on the tree. So in particularly, you are pathing over down here to grab Ghost Dance, which gives you a little bit of recovery. To grab this node here, which gives you Energy Shield on kill, and both increased evasion and increased Energy Shield, both good stats. And this one here. This is pretty useful because you're stacking a ton of int. So you get a bunch of increased evasion rating based on your int, which is a nice bonus. Especially when I have like 1,000 int. Alright, and finally, I just wanted to talk a bit about, I think that, I'll talk a bit about the skill tree. So, oh sorry, right here, Wrath, Zealotry, Discipline, and Enlightened 4. And you needed an Enlightened 4 here. And that allows you to reserve all your auras. And over here, we have Enlightened 4, sorry, Enhanced 4, or Enhanced 3, your choice. Assassin's Mark and Energy Blade. Assassin's Mark could be swapped to any of the other ones, but I thought it was the best, so I just put it here because it has like a, it has some, the quality doesn't actually matter because you don't need power charges anyways. Anyway, I'll talk a little bit about the skill tree now. So the skill tree uses split personalities. You can see here, split personality, strength, dex, split personality, strength, life. The reason why is because these give a ton of stats, and I thought it was relatively efficient to put them in. But I'll talk a little bit about the nodes that you need. So this is very standard brand nodes. You're grabbing these to get brand attachment range instead of the damage. Although you can pick the duration, it actually doesn't really matter. A personal preference, more or less. Over here, you're grabbing Ziliot's Oath. This allows you to turn your Conk Ground into Energy Shield regen. And the way you're getting Conk Ground is through Rational Doctrine. So originally, you can get Conk Ground through Sanctuary right here and Pious Path. However, because you're frost blinking around and you want to have it deal good damage, Augury of Penance works quite well with Frostblink because it's an AoE around you, which means that anyone that gets hit by it will be affected by this particular node here. So I thought this particular node here was better. Because of taking this, I dropped Sanctuary, and that means I need to get a source of conquer ground from somewhere. And in that case, I'm using Rational Doctrine. And this is the reason why I'm taking this particular strength and life split personality here, instead of like strength and dex or strength and int. The reason why, normally you would take strength and int and strength and dex. So I have strength and dex here, strength and int here. The reason why I'm not taking strength and int is because my int was too high, and I couldn't get my strength high enough. So that's why this particular case we took strength and life right here. That allows me to make my strength slightly overcapped. The two other ways I'm getting enough strength is one is here, 5 strength per allocated mastery passive skill, and one of the plus 30 strength here. The rest of it's on my gear. So in this case, we have a int strength ring, but they both have the same amount of attributes. And we have a int strength boots, and strength is slightly lower, but it's so insignificant that even if it was higher than int, it wouldn't make a difference, if that makes sense. So that's how you're making sure you get conquer ground to make sure that you have permanent regen on your energy shield, which is a nice quality of life. So let's see here. The rest of it, we are pathing up through here to get brand equity for the extra 2 brands. It's just brand quality of life. You can anoint explosive ruin. I have decided not to because I don't really need the attachment range since I'm not doing Sanctum. But if you were to do Sanctum with this character, you should anoint this because it will make your Sanctum a lot nicer to do. Over here, we're pathing here to grab this and this. I was using a rune graft of the warp, but it doesn't really seem to be that effective, so I took it off. Traitor here, a brutal restraint here, grabbing life and life here. Over here, you grab the attribute stacking nodes, and then right here, you path down to grab these 2 nodes here, which are very, very efficient for life and energy shield, and then the evasion I talked about earlier. And then you come down here, you grab pain achievement, you grab this wheel here, which is very, very good because every one of these gives you life and evasion. Jewel socket, just pathing down here. And I'll talk a little bit about this particular node here. So the reason why I'm taking more duration is because the build doesn't have very good duration. I'll actually just hop into POB, I think, to kind of show you this. But let me just pull up POB. Alright, so here's my character. I'll just use this to talk because it's probably a bit easier. So you can see here that we have 17 activations per brand. Without this, we have 12 activations per brand. This is because in this setup, we are running SWIFTBRAND support for more like cast. Previously, I was running faster casting, but a hit rate of 3.8 is so low that it feels very, very bad, personally, as a brand player. So personally, I decided to drop this, go with SWIFTBRAND, and we need to make sure that the activations are like at least 20, because like if you have, this means that you have 10 activations where your damage is ramping, and then 2 activations at max ramp because of the way Penance brand works. It has 20 stacks, and you have 2 brands on target, so every tick ramps 2 stacks each. That's why this is like kind of shit. You don't have enough duration for this to be effective, which is why I wasn't running SWIFTBRAND. That's why I decided to respec the tree around grabbing this, which will push it up to around 17. So for context, on the previous character that I played in Sanctum, my brand activation was 18 per brand, and it felt perfectly fine. So that's kind of the threshold that I was aiming for with that change. So we're grabbing these. That's why you're grabbing this here. All of these just jewel sockets. And then you're grabbing Iron Will, you're grabbing life nodes here. This Eternal Youth allows you to turn your ES recharge onto life. And your life is not taking any damage because you have energy shield covering it, right? And a Coruscating Elixir. So this flask right here. This one right here. You have this that covers your chaos damage, so your life is not taking any damage, which means that it will always be recharging. And this is basically your source of life regen for blood magic. Otherwise, you can't cast your spells. Over here, we're grabbing a cluster for 2 jewel sockets. We're grabbing this 1 point here to cap my res. So you can see my res is not capped without this. Grab this 1 point here to cap it. A jewel socket here. Strength wheel here and blood magic. And we're taking this match mastery because we need more strength to meet the profane, what's it called? Rational Doctrine jewel. And then we're pathing down here to grab this one, which gives a reservation efficiency for both life and mana. And this one here, which gives 20% life reservation efficiency. This is required in order to fit your auras. However, you can drop this if you have a better helmet, but I'm just sticking with this particular setup. By better helmet, I mean a Crown of the Inward Eye with a corruption that says succulent gems have less reservation efficiency. Let me see if I can find that. Where is my Crown of Eye? So this particular one. Succulent gems get 90% cost reservation multiplier. With that allows you to drop this particular point here, and you can get an extra skill point if you want to do that. Okay, I'll talk a little about the cluster. So the cluster in this case, I've taken this one right here, which gives me Leech, and this one right here, which gives me increased effect of Arcane Surge. The reason why I've taken increased effect of Arcane Surge is because of the Flesh and Flame that I've chosen to use. You need to make sure two things. One, if you have Arcane Surge in your Penance brand, you need to have a Flesh and Flame from Hierophant for Arcane Surge. In that case, the Flesh and Flame is for this node here, Arcane Blessing, which gives you Arcane Surge when you hit an enemy with a spell. If you do not have this Flesh and Flame, you do not want to use Arcane Surge here because you can't proc it because you're not spending mana. It says here that you need to spend a total of 527 mana to proc this, and you cannot proc this because you're not spending mana. You're spending life because of Blood Magic, which is this node right here. So please make sure that if you are using Arcane Surge here, you need to have a Flesh and Flame. This one right here. Arcane Blessing, Flesh and Flame. Arcane Blessing, Flesh and Flame. That allows you to use your spell to hit an enemy, and that gives you Arcane Surge, which then actually puts Arcane Surge on your character, which then allows this to have the effect, which is 11% increased spell damage and 36% more spell damage and 20% cast speed. And that 36% more spell damage, I'm pretty sure also stacks with this one right here, which is 20% more spell damage. And so that's how you get that effect. And that's why I have increased effect of Arcane Surge on here. With this notable, you can get Arcane Surge when you hit a unique. However, it only works on uniques because it's 10% chance, right? So I would not recommend you rely on this notable for your Arcane Surge generation. And instead, make sure that you get a Flesh and Flame for Arcane Blessing. And if that's too expensive for you, just drop Arcane Surge and take something else instead. So what you do, go on your POB, untick this, click the box to see what's the next highest damaging support. Faster casting, cruelty, inspiration, whatever, right? Don't take elemental focus because that stops you from inflicting elements. So anything else is good. Okay, I hope that makes it clear. If you want to use Arcane Surge, please make sure you have Flesh and Flame. Otherwise, your Arcane Surge won't be able to proc. Like, you won't be able to get it on mobs because you're not spending mana because you're playing Blood Magic. And that's why this node here is pretty effective. Over here, I have two split personalities, and that allows like a very efficient pathing where you're starting from here and you're pathing all the way across and then back through the center and all the way here. Each of these gives like 90%, 90 strength, 90 dex, and this is 90 strength and how much life? 300 life. So that's kind of why that's there. And you're pathing down here to grab Blood Magic, Strength, and Aura Effect. I think I talked about that. Cool. I'll talk a little bit about the gear. So, do I have any notes on this? I do not. But I'll just chat about the gear. So first thing you need to do is to craft these boots and these rings, which are the most expensive parts on the build. This ring, the way you craft this, I will just put this in the notes. So you need helical ring, and then you spam, start with the helical ring base, you spam strength essence, or int. Strength is cheaper right now, that's what I spammed, until you get something reasonable, then you fracture. Pray, you pray, yeah, more or less, 50-50. And then, once you have something reasonable, for example, in my case, I had just strength. I fractured int, and I had strength left. What I did after that was, you hit it with Scorn Essence, and Scorn Essence gives the crit multi-line. You cannot roll this crit multi-line any other way. And you're fishing for, you're looking for the other attribute that you didn't fracture. So in my case, I will spam Scorn Essence until I hit Strength. And you need to make sure the next step is I open a prefix and suffix. What this does is this allows you to craft, let me just type this up. So you have int, strength, crit multi. This will be your ring. And then open suffix, open prefix. This allows you to lock suffixes, right? Suffix can't be changed. And then Harvest Bench, Reforge, Caster. This is guaranteed cast speed. And you pray that it's tier 1. So you basically repeat the step until it bricks, and then if it actually does brick, by brick I mean like you can't craft, like you can't craft, the suffixes can't be changed, and then you go for the annul and it hits your scorn essence or your strength, like one of your attributes or your crit multi. So it's a 50-50. You repeat this until it bricks. If it bricks, you go back to scorn essence rolling, and that's basically it. It's relatively straightforward to craft. The main thing is you need to get a fractured base, or you need to hit a fracture on a helical ring. So that's the kind of the hard part. That's the most expensive part. This ring is the most expensive piece of the gear in this setup. Next thing, this wand is just Delve Fossil for Abyssal Socket. These boots are very, very easy. It's just spam Strength Essence and look for Int, and then look for something else relevant. So I spammed Strength Essence, I looked for Int, and then I locked Suffix, and then I reforged. Sorry, I Bristle Matron. So, okay, I'll just type this up as well so people have notes. Boots, spam Strength Essence, cheapest. I'll just say Strength Int. And then you're looking for the other attribute. And then you go into Bristle Matron. If all suffixes are full, Wild Bristle Matron. Otherwise, craft suffixes. And then Reforge Life. And pray. And same thing here, you're repeating this step until it bricks. So exactly the same logic as that. Very straightforward to craft. Aside from that, for your amulet, you can either get attributes. So you want attributes, the first line, and you can either get max life or global defense. Both are pretty good. I went for this one. I think it was like 15 divine, so it was okay. For your shield, you ideally want to get a +1 level to socketed gems, because that increases the level of your energy blade and your enhance. So I have a level 5 enhance. So it just makes it so that you have more stats, more bigger energy blade, etc. That's why you want to have that there. If it's too expensive, you can vow these yourself. There's a trick with the double corruption temple, I think, where it's a bit complicated, but you can turn in div cards at level 2 character, and then you can get like a shield that can always, like a 50-50 for the socketed gems. But anyways, you can just buy this or just go without socketed gems. Minion gems is useless. This one here, you're looking for duration, so +2 to duration gems or +2 to AoE gems. Either are good. If you have both, then it's GG. But that's basically what you're looking for here. This one here is just looking for a very high roll on the 21%. This one here is, I went for duration gems for the Vow. Remember the Vow aura, Vow Grace gets buffed here. You can see it says +2 in POB. If you don't have duration, then just go for normal Grace, and it doesn't really matter. Not a big deal. Calandra's Touch is just standard, and Mageblood is just my Mageblood from before. Okay, the last thing here is a jewel here. You want to use these jewel. You have one empty jewel socket to cap your res. So I went for lightning resistance, and I also went for corrupted blood immunity. Those two I think are pretty important. So you would get your corrupted blood immunity here, or you can get it in here if there's the option to get it there. Just depends on whatever's cheaper. I went for res and corrupted blood immunity on one jewel, and then for here I just used the same abyss jewel that I had before. And I think that covers it. All right, back in game on the Singapore server because Australia is dying. But I'll just talk a bit about the strategy now. So what I've been doing is Alva, Essences, Heist, and Betrayal. So I have on my Atlas tree, I'll just zoom out so you can take a look at it. Basically, I have all the Essence notables, except this one right here, all the Alva chants, and these two notables here, and this one right here. I have some of the map ones, so one of the map ones, I have a bunch of the Heist drop chants, so just to get Smuggler's Caches every now and then. And then I have every single other Betrayal and Relevant node. I don't want this one here because it doesn't do anything, and this one here doesn't do anything either, and this one's not Betrayal chants, so I don't care about it. And this one here is optional. Yep. And then I have this one here for the double rewards because I'm rushing the maps quickly. I have these ones here for the blueprint. And then I'm pathing up here to grab these two because this one's the most expensive because the gold flask, which I actually dropped one. And these two are not really worth that much. And basically, if you see Egon, you just Egon and go. And otherwise, you just do Essence, Betrayal, and you build temples. And you click Heist, smuggle caches. So I'll just talk a little bit about Scarabs. So there's 3 setups with this. First one is the calcification setup that's expensive. I've swapped to this because I have farmed up a ton of the corruption omens. The corruption essences, so I can use this, and I can fish for the expensive essences. So in that particular case, it's these ones here. Otherwise, what you should do is you should use. Let me just go here. I'm trying to paste in what's it? I think it was this one. Yeah. Okay, so you want to use Betrayal Scarab of Reinforcement. So one of these. Then you want to use 2 of these and 1 of these, like this, and your map. So that's 4 things. If you don't want to use Betrayal of Scarab, you can put in another 3rd one, like this. So you have these 4. And if you want to do timelines, which I also was doing, don't know if I have any. I do. You can do this. So you can use these 4 essences like this. These 4 scarabs like this. It's up to you, personal preference. Personally, what I was doing is I was using this setup right here, although I'm not really sure how good this scarab actually is. So I've actually been taking it out and not using it for a bit to test. But yeah, what you do is you want to take these 4 scarabs and you want to do city square. Don't think I have any. I think I ran out. Yeah, I ran out. But you want to do city square map. And you want to take this notable right here. So these 3 points. What I did was I unspec'd these here, and then I took these 3 here. And this allows you to get a bunch of corrupted essences for you to start using them to fish for the expensive essences. And you use this setup here. You can swap this in if you want. You can swap this in if you want. Personal preference. That's basically the setup. Oh, and on the map device, you're hitting Essence, which should make sense because you're doing essences. Over here, you're clicking Eater of Worlds. That's basically how you do this. After you've got it enough, like a large amount of these corrupted essences, which you see I have a ton now. I have like 150 of them. You swap over to the calcification setup. You swap over to, not the calcification, but you swap over to a different setup, which I'll just show you now. So what you do first is you unspec these 3 points here. Because this node right here, using Remnants of Corruption, replaces all essences with one of the essence on your imprisoned monster. This removes the effect of upgrading the essence, basically to the special ones, which is these 4 here. Removes that effect, and that's not what you want. So you remove these 3 here, and I just taken whatever. I'm just taking this, doesn't really matter. And then you make sure that you need Essence of Stability. Which one is it? This one right here. Essence Scarab of Stability. I'm just going to toss all this away. So this basically allows you to guarantee that you upgrade or transform essences, which is great. And so in combination with, with this notable being removed and having a ton of red essences in your bank to use, this allows you to go fish for the good essences. There's 2 other setups that you can do here. I have gone with the expensive setup that's using calcification with adversaries. This is expensive because this is like 45C each. But the other setup that you can do, which I will just show as well, the cheaper one is the one that Palstron had a video about. I think it's paste this in. Yep. So the cheapest one is you want one of these and one of these. So these 2 are mandatory. And then you can kind of do what we did before. So you can either pick, if you want to use Betrayal Scarab, if you want to use Timeline Scarab, it's personal preference. So these 2 are mandatory. You can do double Essence Scarab like this. You could do 1 Essence, 1 Timeline. You can do like this. But if you're fishing for essences, you probably should have more essences on the map. And timelines and reinforcements kind of just like side money. It really depends on what you enjoy doing. So that's what I was doing for a bit. And now I'm just trying the calcification setup to get some more of the big essences. So that's what I'm testing here right now. This setup is Essence, Ascent, and Stability, which are mandatory ones. and then double one of these, which gives a bunch of rare monsters, and this turns all those rare monsters into essences, which then gives you more chances to fish for the essence you want. The map I'm doing is Beach. As soon as you unspec this node here, Crystal Resonance, you can kind of pick whatever map you want to do. This map is really, if you click this node, you want to do City Square because it makes the bosses like much easier to kill. Otherwise, you spend ages trying to kill bosses that's like 8 essence lined, which is like super annoying. So that's why as soon as you unspec this, pick whatever map you want. If you have the spec and you're fishing, you're farming red essences, the corruption essences, please do City Square. Okay. Show a demo map. Let me just see what June has to spit out. Okay. So, just gonna do a quick demo map here. So the first thing to do is to make sure you click your Coruscating Elixir. There is an MTX, which I have bought. This one right here, Reinforced Ruby Flask. It gives your character a giant red shield, which is a nice visual indicator that your Coruscating Elixir is up. So right now you can see this big ass red shield on me. And all you do is you just Frostblink around. You see here, we've got Betrayal. We're gonna place our brands down. Do the Betrayal, just blink around a bit more. And then just a standard Betrayal stuff. So transportation, you want to not touch these two. That's fine. Click the Smuggler's Caches. This is an ambush. Over here, we're going to, doesn't really matter.
Yes, I'm no traitor.
Level up, and we don't want to do anything with this guy. Betrayal is pretty hard to explain while doing the map, and I'm probably not going to explain it because it's just going to take too long. But I recommend you watch Simply Vanessa's video on it. He's probably the best one for this. So you're looking for meds. None of these are purple, and the ones that you upgrade are purple, and none of these are purple, so I'm just going to click that purple. Not going to bother with the corruption on them. Okay.
A swift choice speaks well of you.
Didn't seem like anything was good.
Delightful. Death of the victor go the spoils.
Okay, double Smuggler's Cache. Got very lucky with the Smuggler's Caches. Okay, essence here. Not purple. Just kill it. This one here is not purple. Kill that one. This one here is purple. Misery is purple. Meds. This is the M. Corrupt it. And we didn't get it. So unlucky. Okay. Some more nice boxes here. I think I might have clicked the wrong craft or something. Reed, not purple. And none of these are not purple either. And then over here, it's also not meds or not purple. Okay. Then we blink off. It's a bit laggy because I'm playing on Singapore. So if I rob a band, that's because of that. But it should be pretty straightforward to do the map. You just click all the essences. So this one has Misery, that's purple. Corrupt the essence. Got the Essence of Horror, that's the one we want. I killed that. That's big money. So if you want to take a look, Essence of Horror is 4038C for one essence. So we've already made basically the essence, the essence of calcification back. Just from that one essence. And I noticed that using it with the rare monsters are mirrored gives so many more attempts at like essences. Okay, and then now we do temple. So control click her. Look at this, look at this. None of them are relevant. Like it's either Locus of Corruption or Doriani's Institute. You just blink through this, grab the stone, look for the boss. Over here. I think I missed the stone. Should blink back. And then press V. And then you want to look to link. So over here, this guy's by alone. I'm going to link him with Hall, and then I'm trying to leave the area. I'm going to link, and then we're just going to run out. Okay.
Good job.
And there's another tower here.
Ah, there you are.
Temple, sorry.
Let's go.
Same thing. Up here. Look for the thing on the icon on the minimap. Killer. Go kill every single mob with your Frostblink. To try and get the stone to drop, so that you can actually open up a room. So it should be right here. There it is. Press V. Okay, we're here. We're going to link it upwards. So I'm going to link it to hatchery. So top right. Frostblink over. Okay.
Good job.
And then go back to doing essences. You can just Frostblink around to clear a little bit of the pack so it gives you some time to read the essence. This doesn't have the ones that we want. Skip. Gonna Frostblink up here a little bit. Clear a bunch of stuff. Oh my god, that's a massive lag spike. And then my HP bar is now cooked. When I just toggle. Let's just ping, ping, ping. This one doesn't have it either. This one also doesn't have it. Open. inventory is full. Gonna portal out. Make sure you pop your flask, remember, because Coruscating flask turns off when you leave. So that's the first thing you need to pop before you enter. And this one has purple, and it's S. S for F. S is sorry. Scorn is S in meds. Oh, we got an Essence of Delirium. Nice. And that is 30C. These are low prices, so it's around 30C. Yep. Over here, not the ones we're looking for, and over here, not the ones we're looking for either. Leave them open. If you have an essence like this one here, which is a ton of lines, you can go for the corruption on it. It's like up to you. Personally, it's like it turns them more into like deafenings and whatever. It's nice to have. It gives you more essences, so it's not like a bad option, but it's kind of just like personal preference on whether you want to go for those corruptions or not. And it also depends on the price of the corruption essences too. Right, I think that is it. I'm gonna full blink onto the end. There's still a few more things to clear. I'm trying to clear the map area. This essence here has ton of lines and misery, which is good. So we're gonna corrupt it. Didn't get the upgrade. This one here has purple. It has envy, which is the E in meds. So we're gonna corrupt it. This one here we don't want to corrupt. This small ones, we're just gonna open that. I'm just gonna open these boxes. Kill some of these either mobs. Right, this one we do want to corrupt. Bam. We got it. Essence of Horror. Yep. Grab all the loot. Alva Temple. Control click. Top, bottom. Temple Nexus is upgrade. You always want to go upgrade in the top right. There's some strategy about like fishing, but I can't be bothered most of the time. I just do these for fun, and then I crop my stuff by myself. So we did get a drop over here. Press V. Gotta make it up to the top right one because we didn't have that before, and then leave the portal. So to save time. Another one here. Control click. Aha! Corruption Chamber. That's the one we want. Top right. Make sure we kill the top right guy. Gonna enter straight top right. That's a lag spike. Just gonna grab the center passage. So right, we're here. I want to link it down to probably the bottom, this one here, because I'm right next to it, and then we're just gonna leave. So you can re-click Alva to check what it upgrades to. So it's a level 1 corruption chamber. This is the Syndicate Laboratory. This is just blink like left, sorry, blink like right, like north direction. And you get here, place your brands. So if you get a person that's inside of here, you generally want to click execute or release. If you get a person that is outside of here, this gives research intelligence based on the level of this person. So this one's 10, this one's 12. I'm just going to click the 10 one, even though the 12 one is technically more, because it's instant.
Strong and reasonable.
And you leave. Okay, just gonna blink up here to just check there's no essences. No essences there, and grab this scale sword. And I think that is it for the map. Hop in, kill the boss, portal out. That's it. That's the strategy I've been doing. This build is very good for it because you Frostblink around really fast. Again, that was like a live demonstration, so it did take a while. But when I do these myself, they take maybe like 2 or 3 minutes per map. And they print a bunch of the essences. So I'll talk a little bit about selling these. So you see I have like 130 divines, and I bought like, I think I bought like a, where is it? I bought like this, which was like, it's 10, but I think this one was like 60. Yeah, I bought this recently, so that's like really expensive. But that's basically like, I just been printing money by doing this. And then what you do is when you get, when Alva has like a exclamation mark on her, you walk up to her, and then you can like take the temple. So next map I'll be able to take the temple. And I just dump them all into a stash tab here with just all the temples I have, and then eventually I'll just run the temples for fun. Just to gamble, have like a gamba tab. And I buy like gems from the market, hit them with the double corruption for fun.
Hello.
Over here, when Jun has a safe house, you do not run a run, intervention, or fortification. You only want to run the ones with transport. Sorry, the ones that you want to farm based on the rewards. Again, watch Simply Vanessa's video. He covers all this. But yeah, that's the strategy. That's the build update. What's next? So, oh, I forgot to mention my Annoint. So I'm using Discipline of the Slaughter right here. Frenzy Charge. If you're doing Sanctum, take this one right here for the increased attachment range. But other than that, that's basically it. I chose this one because it gives a bit more universal damage, and I'm using Frostblink for clear anyways, so universal damage is a bit better than brand-specific damage, which is from here. Okay. Some other options you can do. There's like tattoos, I think, that give you life. Journey, tattoo. These here, max ES, max life, max mana, max life. These two are relatively useful for your build for getting you more ES or more life. Probably the life one is better. There's a jewel called Bound by Destiny. So right now, I'm just talking about upgrades if you want to do stuff further. What's it called? A Bound by. This one right here. This jewel, if I just show you the expensive ones. I think these are probably RMT, but is there one that gives you attributes? Oh yeah, this one can get increased intelligence and increased attributes. So these two mods. So this is like, you get like uniques with these specific influences. Very, very expensive. I personally am not bothering with it. It's just too much. But like this is a mirror, right? So you can get this and it gives you a ton of attributes, like a huge amount of attributes, which then will allow you to basically gain like more stats and more life. If I was to go for one, I would go for increased strength, simply because of this thing here. I need to make sure my strength is higher than my int. If you go for increased int, it will make your int higher. Okay, that mostly covers it for the build update and the strategy I've been farming. This strategy is really nice because your maps can just be white. So I'm literally just not even alching my maps. I hate like the alch and scour and managing them. So I literally just put in the scarabs. I just put in a white map. I go, because Syndicate, Alva, and Essences don't care about like the map loot. They're all just like separately done loot, if that makes sense. You can also do it in lower tiers if you want, but I think there was a change to Essences, so you can't do it in lower tiers that are that low. Oh, and one more thing I just remembered is that I have not done my boot implicits here. What I recommend, I'm going to just quickly open up Craft of Exile. I literally forgot. I just been playing this entire time without Eldritch Implicit on my boots, which is hilarious. But yeah, I'm just going to quickly just going to look into the boot implicits. There is one. So the two ones that I think you want, there is Brand Attachment Range, which is a Searing Exarch implicit. You can get Action Speed, another Searing Exarch implicit. You can get, I think that's mostly the ones that are actually that important. Should I sell this quickly? But like there's like other random ones. But it's just really personal preference. And then for Eater of World, you probably want cooldown recovery rate of travel skills, or you want damage as extra element. So I'm just gonna quickly sell this. There's one that says damage is extra chaos. That's probably one that you would like. It goes up to pretty high numbers. I think it's like 5%. But you can get like fizz damage as extra lightning or fizz damage as extra cold, your personal preference. So that's what I recommend. But yeah, the other ones are all pretty like meh in terms of boots. Action speed is probably better than brand attachment range because you don't really need high brands because you're not really using Penance brand for clear. So that's kind of that aspect there. So yeah, make sure you do actually do this. I'm going to do this right after this video. I forgot. And I forgot for the past like 2 days. Aside from that, I think that basically covers it for the build. So what's next? 2 things. So this... Oh, where is it? This Flesh and Flame I bought gives Searing Purity. Searing Purity says 45% of chaos taken is fire, 45% of chaos taken is lightning. That means this mod here that says chaos damage is taken from mana before life. If I am not playing blood magic and I have some mana unreserved, then basically my mana doesn't have to be very high for this to give me a ton of chaos max hit, which is the main issue the build's trying to solve. That allows me to run a mage blood, allows me to drop this flask, which is a very annoying flask to use. It allows me to use full 5 flasks, and I can end up dropping Traitor, and that's kind of the next path I'm looking towards doing. Aside from that, I'm also looking towards playing Cast on Crit. I've never played Cast on Crit, it looks pretty fun. But if you wanted to play Penance brand, I think this is basically the min-maxed, not min-maxed in terms of gear, but the min-maxed in terms of setup and like getting cast speed, getting attachment, getting damage, that kind of aspect. That's kind of how you would do this. But yeah, video has been quite long. I'm going to wrap it up here. I will make a video on Searing Purity with mana unreserved, so non-blood magic Searing Purity Energy Blade. And I'll also probably make a video about Cast on Crit once I get there. But we'll see how it goes, and thanks for watching.